How you doing, folks? I was asked last minute to pop in and, I suppose, into James's feet and talk about it from a client's point of view. I asked David, does that mean I'm allowed to get out about site manager? And he told me no. And I put myself back in site manager's shoes and just do the slides. So I'll be brief. Just to run to the end, James couldn't make it, but he's actually online and he's following the tweets. So I was talking to him earlier on today. While I was back in the office, we were very interested in what was happening with a kangaroo and different things. So I was chatting to him. So if anybody wants to tweet or if anybody's looking for any information from James, in case I don't tell you the whole truth, at Horlicks is his tweet, and he should be available now if you want to follow. Yeah, done. Okay, just to give you a brief overview of Gedling. They're in partnership with, I suppose, Rushcliffe Borough Council, Newark and Sherwood District Council and Gedling. They came together to form a partnership. James, I suppose, initially were focusing in on Gedling, was brought on about a year and a half ago to oversee the implementation of their new website, and basically his remit was really to extend the reach out into the community and make the online presence felt. So James, I suppose we asked him to have a look and asked him about his journey in extending that reach. So the partnership, we refer to them the three councils. They came together to save money, time and resources. So they had a look at what their common goals were, came together and we built those as, say, one project, and then as we tailored near the end of the project, they split up into individual projects. So I suppose there's a partnership, and that will continue now that each of the sites are starting to go live. James just recently went live with Gedling last month, and then he's just went live with his What's On and Events guide this morning as well. They're based out of Nottingham, and what he ended up doing was forming a web managers group. So I think it's quarterly they all meet up and they share ideas and basically move the product forward. Okay, so the website, if you can see it's just on the right hand side. So very clever people over in the three councils decided upon site manager, and the reason I suppose they wanted a new site was they wanted a fresher look and feel, so that basically it was more updated. They wanted to really rework the navigation, so a big thing for them was, like one of their navigation menu items was living, leisure and working, and what does that mean to the person out in the community. So they really had a look at what their navigation was, their menu items, how it was. They did a lot of research and came up with 10 key menu navigations. They wanted then to do a full review of their content, and we were actually over on site visiting with them when this was happening. So they went from 1,700 pages down to 700 pages, and basically the key message to everybody within the council was, if you don't rewrite your page, it's not going up on the site. Had to be not in council speak, as they said, and basically in just more plain English for the end user out in the community. It's also linked to county services. Gedling is split, there's a county council and then there's also Gedling Borough Council. So it was to identify exactly what services were delivered by Gedling and by the county council. So, where does the actual extending your reach come into James's rollout of his website? I suppose the web developers and the web evolves and so should the council websites. Now that they had their website up and running, they needed to get basically as many services as possible so that the residents can use them online. What James found an awful lot was that looking and reviewing other council websites was that they looked pretty, they had nice text, but when you actually went to do and use any full transactions, you were always diverted back then to calling in and back to the paper trail. So he really wanted to, if you're going to build a website, have the full services. A big shift, I suppose, within the council, again from talking to James, was every single service, basically when they were having their meetings, he would have to then, or they incorporated at the end of their meetings is, how can we do this online? How can we provide the service online? How can we cut down on the paperwork, how can you make it easier. So every single different meeting that happens over now within the council, at the end of the agendas is always the, how can we put this upon the web, how can we make it easier. Their goal was to increase their number of online services by 25% each year, and basically working with all the services to identify their areas that can be moved. So the way to do this was they had to look at their stats and see where were their calls coming in, where was their main workload. Gatling used the services that came through their customer service desk. So roughly 70% of their services go through here. So that's the areas like for councils, bins, planning, leisure. So the statistics were key in developing their services for online to see where what their users were viewing and what they were looking to serve. I've already mentioned just that James' key point, and he's brought up a few times there, was that the web services weren't just pretty front end, that they were basically had functionality in behind them. This was a review of not only, I suppose, extending the reach, but also getting the cost of every transaction down. So they did a cost analysis and basically figured out that for face-to-face, it was £7.40 it was costing them. For the telephone, it was £2.90, and then if it's on the web, it was costing 32 pence. So it's, I suppose, in their interest to bring it in with, I suppose, reduced budgets. They can provide more services if it's done over the internet. Putting it into practice, the tasks and services. Tasks evolve, and the Webley's job is never over. Once the website was built, James really had to spend a lot of time kind of saying, this isn't the end of the project, now we have to grow it. So it wasn't a case of, oh, there's the website, lovely, and everybody go off and do something else. Talks here about, I've already spoken about the web stats and the phone calls. So, and user testing to make sure it's what the users want, not what the council wants. Okay. This is all leading towards, I suppose, extending their reach. The website is all brilliant, but what James really wanted to do was to start getting involved with the social media. So the councils cannot and should not ignore it. Up to that point, they were. There was no Twitter, there was no Facebook, there was no Flickr, there was no YouTube, there was no use of anything. It's basically a fantastic way to communicate, to serve and assist with the residents, and with your own website and online services. So really what James wants to do there was bring in all of the social medias into the website and use them to get the message out to the residents. Just a note on that, what I suppose Gedling are planning on doing and what they're looking at the moment is by using Site Manager, they want to basically export an XML, or they already have the RSS feeds for, say, their news and events. But what they're going to do is, with XML, export that out to twitterfeed.com, where you can set up basically where it will consume the XML, and then that will spit it out on a schedule to Twitter and to Facebook. So through using Site Manager, you're using the one piece of content and spitting it out to your Facebook and then also to your Twitter. There's other ways to do it as well. If you're interested in doing that, there's apps.facebook.twitter as well, where you can send your message out to Facebook, and Facebook will actually send it to Twitter. So it's a roundabout way to do it. That's phase 2 of what he's looking to do at the moment. Okay, on the Twitter, when James joined, basically the council didn't use it. They were very scared of social media and how it was used. They now have a Twitter page, 2 Facebook pages, a YouTube and a Flickr channel, and all of this is brought in and basically integrated with Terminalfour's Site Manager. He also noted, looking there at, during the election count, his followers grew by 30%. So this is really where, I suppose, there's 2 or 3 main slides near the end, which embodies, I suppose, the theme of extending your reach. Looking at the strategies, James isn't one for pages and pages and pages and reams of strategies. Basically, he feels very strongly that if a council follows them, they really follow them by the rule book, and that things get bogged down and they don't make it out to the public. So the wheel explains James's approach to getting his message out there. The centre represents the website, and everything goes here. So Terminalfour is key to everything that goes out from the council. Before the revamp of the website, they were very much driven by published media. and then this published media was converted into the web media. So there was a big focus on published material. Since the website has gone up, there's a big drive to move it towards the web, and then basically your published media comes from that. So the centre represents the website. So be that a paper-based communication, SMS, any information that goes out should be available online. The social media represented by the spokes, and again this can be SMS, your letter consultations, essentially everything that finds its way back to the high level of information on the website. This would include, I suppose if you're looking at that as well, would be the mobile kiosks and televisions. So a number of the councils, of the 3 councils, have outreach council buildings. So when we were over, we visited 1 or 2 accidentally when we were looking for their headquarters. And in there they have kiosks, but that information then in phase 2 will be controlled by site managers. So they'll send the information, do the information once, and then that'll be used in their different outreach buildings by their kiosks and their televisions. So that's again the spokes. And then of course everything links together with the social media services, the web pages and all the content links will connect with each other, and I suppose that's your tile. So that's how James views, I suppose, his online web strategy, which is a different way to have a look at it. So when he was designing the website and I suppose moving forward on his strategy, the idea was to think of everybody. So the website, as he kind of kept saying, and they had to get out of the view, was the website wasn't for the council, the website was for the people, and they had to get out of that mindset. A way to do that, I suppose, leading on to it, was James's family, and I think it's quite ingenious when we talk through it. James is on the left, for those of you who are wondering who he is. So what James does is, along with his strategy, he also thinks then of his family and how he's going to extend and how he's going to reach out to each one of them. So James is, as he describes himself, the geeky nerd on the left with the glasses. So he embraces all methods of communication, social or web. He prefers online services and transaction, doesn't like the whole paper-based phone calls. He does not like council speak whatsoever. Just wants to perform a service and go, doesn't want any problems or hassle, and prefers to search sites and find his own information. Okay, so that's James. His father, who's on the very far right there, prefers online services and transactions too. He doesn't like council speak, prefers the web to social, doesn't really do the social media thing at all, and is happy enough browsing through a basic, easy site to navigate. One interesting point about it is James's father would only ever really use left-hand side navigation and doesn't like if top navigation on the right, so he sticks to left-hand side navigation, gets his information, and then from there. In the middle there, I suppose James describes it as his chatty sister. I actually don't know if they know that he uses this picture of them all, but I'm sure they're delighted. But I suppose, he describes his sister as not giving 2 hoots about the council, never looks up the website, always on social media sites, mainly Facebook. As I said, doesn't go on to the council sites. And if there's recently with the launch of Facebook and the Twitter, a number of the councils over there would run local gyms, and his sister now has started seeing offers for gym membership and special deals that are on, and she's starting to go to these, and she'll turn around to her brother and basically say, oh, there's a great deal on so-and-so. You know, and he kind of looks at her and says, well, I've been telling you that for weeks and it's on our website. But it's only when they start to go to their Facebook and their Twitter that she starts seeing that. So he had the website, and now they're starting to reach out, I suppose extend their reach to other people by using Facebook, using Twitter, and it's all again driven by the site manager. So, James's mother, second from the left, she's not the most technical savvy, and I think I'm being nice. I think James...
he says it much worse.
Yeah. Uses the web only when she really, really has to. Would perform services online only if she feels that the site looks safe. So if it's too confusing, too complex, she doesn't go near it. Would normally use left navigation only, and would visit a site if she saw something in the residence magazine. So again, not excluding, I suppose, the old media or the current media that's used as well, the paper media. So it's another way to redirect your users in. But interestingly enough, if a URL gets to a certain length, she just stops. So if it's not URL friendly, she won't go onto it, even if she has it there printed in front of her. So again, another thing to keep in mind. And shows that the web, I suppose, can help from other forms of methods of communication. So the last person that's there is his grandmother, or Nan, as he refers to her. So it doesn't use any online tools, doesn't use the web really, knows it exists, but doesn't use Facebook, doesn't use Twitter. The one good thing about her is she's basically a bit of a chatterbox and likes talking to people. And using, I suppose, all of the previous, the web, the Twitter, the Facebook, she does get the message as well. And how she gets the message, and it was surprising to James as well when he started asking her how he heard information, was during the winter weather, Gedling tweeted about the closed roads and missed waste collections and basically updating what the council were doing during the bad weather. It was picked up by the local radio, and then that was broadcast on a regular basis during the very bad weather. So it was through that his Nan got the message, and then she was off talking to other people spreading the message. So when James, I suppose, is looking at his overall strategy and extending the reach, this is what he goes through, how each one of his family would get the information. Okay, the next step in extending the reach for the three councils is mobile technology. I know it's been discussed previously and will be discussed as well tomorrow in workshops. It's exploded and it's still going. I suppose the council feel that the tablet world is helping as well, and that your site really needs to be mobile friendly. So Gedling have started, I think their phase was to get their events up and running and their calendar this week, which was done this morning, and literally from next week he's already kicking off into how he's going to build his mobile site. Initially what they're going to do is start very small and use the sample mobile site that's on the sample site and have something very, very small and then build it. His main, I suppose, looking at the mobile technology, studies have shown that between about 5 and 10% of the web traffic will be mobile. So that's what he's currently seeing at the moment. When an event happens, this will grow to about 30%. So when the elections were on, we saw that his traffic grew to about 30%. He is going to use Site Manager to create a mobile channel. What he's going to do is mirror the content. He's not going to get into duplicating or rewriting any material. They just don't have the resources to basically man that. And he's very, I suppose the key message for him is that not to recreate your whole website, pick, choose and grow is his keywords here. And then I suppose just a little bit about just embedding, promoting that is, he really finds that you don't have to work in isolation, that you can work, basically form your partnerships, which has worked very, very well for the three councils, and then also for the other councils within Nottingham and the outer region. They're starting to come on board as well with their monthly meetings. Yeah, and his key message is the website isn't for, I suppose, isn't for you, the council, speaking from James's shoes, but is for the users out in the community. And that's James's presentation. I hope it was interesting. If you do want any information, James has kindly said that there's absolutely no problem contacting him, or if you want to tweet, that there's absolutely no problem, and he'll provide you with whatever help or information you want.
My name is Kieran Regan, and I'm the Web Development Manager at Sage CRM here in Dublin. And we've just recently completed a project as recently as the week before last with Terminalfour, which has involved the redevelopment of SageCRM.com. I suppose that firstly, as well as along with myself, I think the three most relieved people in the room here are Anne-Marie, Stephen and Mark from Terminalfour, who have worked tirelessly to get this project over the line, which we have done successfully. So what I really want to do quickly is just demonstrate how we have extended our reach into new territories, new regions, and essentially new markets with the new website built on and using the Terminalfour's CMS. So just quickly, what I'll go through is just to put it in context. I'll just distinguish between the actual product and the website itself and how they relate to each other. Just a quick overview on that. and also just the overall website goals and the objectives that we set out to achieve at the beginning of this project. Just again in context, show you some of the existing sites and the legacy systems that were there that needed to be essentially replaced. And then what we actually did with the domain names and the URL structures and tidying up of those, and then how Site Manager assisted with that aspect as well. One of the main key features of our new website is the location-based content and the multilingual aspect using channels in Site Manager, and also the content management and the workflows that Site Manager offers as well. I'll then quickly touch on the external feeds as well that we've implemented into the new site, and then plans for the future, including publishing out to mobile devices and including tablets. But just quickly, the product Sage CRM we've recently launched at the same time as the website a new version of Sage CRM, which essentially is two versions that are cloud-based, and I won't go into them here. But the cloud-based solution actually means that we're able to offer a host of features that would normally be, say, available on an on-premise version for quite a low cost, because our kind of target market is the small and medium-sized business. So how the website Sage CRM fits into that is that it provides a single destination sign-in for the CRM Cloud product to the global customers. So all our existing customers will be visiting this site on a daily basis. And secondly, the new site, again, the key objectives was to provide a strong lead generation platform in the form of free trial registrations, while also again showcasing features and the benefits of Sage CRM. And again, because I suppose we're targeting global markets, the way we're actually structured is that we have local and regional offices in different countries around the world that actually sell into those markets. So we needed a site that provided localized and relevant and optimized location-based content, I suppose as seamlessly as possible, rather than having the user go and search for it. And then one of the key existing features of our site was the active user and partner community. So that needed to be taken into consideration and seamlessly integrated into the new site. So we intended that to stay on its own old location, which is a third-party service. So it needed to integrate into that as well. So we didn't lose that valuable aspect of the site. So the objectives we set out at the start of this project, and objectives that we needed the Terminalfour Site Manager to meet really was to, first of all, deliver a best-in-class customer acquisition website, again with a priority on free trial registrations, and a site and a system whereby we could actually centrally manage, a centrally managed website that ensured brand consistency across all countries and all markets. So regardless of where you're accessing the site from, you're getting consistent messaging, and you're getting a consistent look and feel and a consistent brand as well. Again, a single sign-in destination for any customer, no matter where you are, so that you're not directed to different log-on pages or different areas. So a consistency there. And also to deliver the content in multiple languages, which enable us to attract customers across our targeted regions. We needed to ensure that we could easily publish content to multiple devices, essentially as easily as possible, including smartphones and tablet devices. Sage CRM product itself has modules that enables it to render and work correctly on mobile devices. So we needed a mechanism whereby you could log in these devices while not visiting the entire site on your mobile device while trying to do so. And for the management of the content as well, the content editors are spread all over the world to different countries, so we needed a system that will enable us to really set up a team of content editors that will enable us to manage, edit, and publish the content from multiple locations as well, so that we could actually set up workflows so that they could easily jump in there and start editing and managing the content. So as I said, the objective here was to replace a multitude of existing microsites that had inconsistent look and feels. They had poor structure. They had little or no content management. They had conflicting brand messaging, out-of-date content, and the pricing was incorrect for various reasons. This is essentially what we ended up with earlier this year. And again, there was no focus, no strong call to action, and again, there was multiple URLs as well, and these were competing against each other. So there was quite a significant amount of work to tidy this up. One of the first ones was the URL and the domain name structure as well. I mean, it was an incorrect use of subdomains. Really, we drove people away from the main htrm.com website and asked them to actually choose a region that was close to them, rather than actually be clever about it and try and detect maybe where the user is coming from and take a couple of steps out of that process and get them to their desired location as quickly as possible. So, just looking at this structure here, what we did was actually replace it, first of all, with using GeoIP detection. We were able to put a mechanism in place where, firstly, we were able to detect where a user has come from, and then essentially display the correct site and the correct language and the correct content based on that location as well. Then we were able to actually stay and focus on the htrm.com domain name and keep the relevancy, importance, and the power of that main domain name as well. And again, with GeoIP and IP detection, I mean, it's not 100%, and there could be an occasion where somebody is in Germany or France and they want to get to the US or the Irish site. So we do have an override facility where you can change your location and change your country from a drop-down. So you're not forcing people to a particular site, but you're getting them there as quickly as possible and giving them the option to change once they get there. So it's getting them to their relevant content as quickly as possible. And again, Site Manager has allowed us to, again, as you can see here, keep a consistent look and feel, consistent brand and consistent messaging across the different countries. Again, but pushing different content. So the content on the sites are different, but again, sample here of a French and an English site. They look the same, they feel the same, but the content is targeted and is specific to where you're actually accessing it from. Again, with the currencies as well, the price and the additions are different in each territory, and then it enables us to keep a consistent, I suppose, a centrally managed pricing structure as well, where we're able to give access to the regional offices, and they can control the pricing and change it as often as they wish. And that's something as well as the content that will change quite frequently as well, where there's special offers and perhaps local campaigns as well. Some spelling mistakes there. I apologise for the rush in getting this together. There's so again, just to give you an idea, one of the features that we've heavily used is the channel feature. Some of you may have used this, and the way we've used it is to create essentially regional sites within Site Manager. So a list of different sites that sit off the main site, but just to illustrate how they're actually structured. On the left here is currently the list of sites that we've actually launched with last week, and on the right here then, Site Manager gives us the ability then to just create new sites as they come online as well. So as we expand into those new markets and we get a presence in those markets, we can essentially roll out a new site as quickly as quickly as possible, keeping the same structure there, and then providing access and essentially loading in localized content into those sites. So we're able to essentially create as many sites as we need to going forward. And I suppose again, one of the key features and one of the reasons we use Terminalfour as well is we essentially want to keep control over the majority of the sites ourselves. But as I said, we intend to put a team of editors and content writers in place in different locations in different countries, and to be able to give them access and to be able to create different levels of access, different workflows depending on the type of activities they want to carry out in the site. We're able to do that. We're able to give somebody who is eager to change all of the content next week, we're able to give them a particular workflow as well in one country, but if somebody is really only concerned with changing the homepage and putting up some new campaigns, then we can do that as well. And then we essentially have control over that from our own location as well. So it gives us a huge amount of flexibility that wasn't there before. And again, it reduces the amount of work, I suppose, that we're actually doing in terms of giving access and providing the type of training that we need to do in order for a local office to use Site Manager. So it's enabling us to extend out into all of those countries quite easily. And one of the key features of our existing site was that we did not want to lose was the user and partner community that's been built up over a number of years, and it's a very valuable resource that exists, and we were able to seamlessly integrate that into Site Manager with its support for third-party systems and its friendliness to work with those. And again, these user communities exist in different languages as well, so it ensured that we did not push user community feeds in English out to German sites. We were able to connect just the German community to the German site, for example. And then that's given us great flexibility in terms of the seamless integration with two similar systems like that as well. And we do have other systems as well, like a business partner database as well that doesn't have a representation on the site at the moment, and that will need to be integrated as well. So then that will give our partners I suppose exposure on the site as well. That already exists, so that was something we should take into consideration as well, so that we could expand our site out to facilitate business partner presence on there as well. And that's a phase 2 plan that we intend to integrate quite soon. But putting this foundation in place has enabled us to do that and given us much more flexibility in terms of what objectives we want to achieve, say, for example, in phase 2. And then lastly, just the mobile devices as well. I mean, that's, again, coming back to extending your reach as well. The fact that we spent a considerable amount of time developing modules for the product that will enable them to work effectively on mobile devices. But again, that is pointless if the main access to that is through the website, and that's not accessible on mobile devices. So we have in the process in the next couple of days actually just launching a complementary mobile site as well. And again, that content is the same content that is currently in Site Manager, and it's just pushed out to a mobile set of templates that will enable a friendly user experience and an optimized version of the content. So we can select what content wants to go in there on the site as well, just to select a piece of content, as well as the focus on the actual login section as well. So again, that needed to, again, like the site itself, the mobile offering, we felt needed to complement the product itself. And I think, working tirelessly, and it was an aggressive deadline that we worked with Terminalfour. I think we've achieved that, and it's given us a system and a foundation to kind of really build on. It's a world away from where we were, so we're extremely happy with it, and that's it.
Rerun.
Hi folks, I'm sure right now you're probably tasting the Guinness in your mouth, or possibly the champagne. Two of the nicest beverages we could imagine that we've got waiting for us, but I'll try to keep you not thinking about that for a few more minutes. So what I want to talk to you about for the next few minutes is native apps versus web apps. And just to get a quick quick sense, how many of you right now have already launched a mobile website or a mobile app? So a handful of you. How many of you are thinking about actively planning this? A good few more. And how many of you are getting pressure from high levels to start thinking about this? Probably got most of the people in the room covered at this point. But actually what I want to talk to you about today is hot sauce. Because when I go home and it's actually my wife who uses the hot sauce, even though I'm the Yankee, she's the Irish woman. She's the fan of making her food spicy. And this Frank's Red Hot original hot sauce has a nice big free iPhone app promotion on it there. Can anyone imagine what the hell you're going to get on an iPhone app for a hot sauce? Are you going to be able to like pretend you're sprinkling hot sauce on your dinner or something like that? Who knows, some sort of recipe, some sort of marketing stuff that someone on there said, hey, we need an iPhone app. And boom, they've got it there, and they've even changed their labeling around to kind of promote it. So iPhone apps, it's everywhere, you're seeing about this. And of course, stuff is changing so quickly that even 6 months ago you could say iPhone app pretty much all the time, and now you almost have to start saying iPhone, Android app. Certainly if you're in the States. But there's a guy based in Amsterdam, Peter Paul Koch, and he's a pretty progressive thinker on this, kind of really pushing the mobile web. And he kind of has this portrait of the CEO as a 2-year-old. And the guy says, look, the CEO says, I want an iPhone app. And the fellow says, look, if you go iPhone, you're excluding people, it's lots more work. The guy says, no, I want an iPhone app. Well, again, there's more complexities of these phones. And then again, I want an iPhone app. It's like a 2-year-old. And although it seems a bit cruel, it's not too far off what we've actually seen. And this is an example. We had a law firm who kind of approached us and said, same story, CEO, we want to get out an iPhone app. We've got this great idea for an app, and what it's going to do is it's going to make one calculation. When you make a donation to a charity, you can open up your phone, open up the iPhone app, choose this app, and you put in your number, £100, and it will tell you £122 are going to go to your charity. What a great app. And they built this out, and they even got a really nice iPad version as well. That's looking great. And up in the board level room, they're delighted with this. They say, look at this. This is sexy. I go home, I show my kid, I got something on the iPad. But, is there any value here at all? And this is, again, a tick-the-box exercise that's going on. So that's kind of the context that we've been in maybe the last 2-3 years. And I think this is a great analogy that someone made. And they said, the iPhone app is the Flash homepage of 2010. It's that desire, all seeing, all dancing, make it move, make it music, make it good. It may take 20 minutes to download, maybe crap, everyone maybe just skip this homepage, but damn it, that's what we want. That's kind of the equivalent to where we've been. But the flip side of this is the side that most of you know, which is mobile is not a vanity thing. I mean, everyone's been bombarded with all the numbers about mobile. At the moment, it's actually, I think, in Q1 or Q2 of this year, smartphones actually outsold PCs. But actually, the big thing is when is internet use on our mobiles going to outpace laptops and desktops? And that's actually that's peak desktop. If we think of peak oil as the trigger point, we are approaching peak desktop when these things are no longer the dominant model that people are using to access our site. This is a big deal. All of us have to get our heads around this. All of us are probably trying to get our heads around this. So if you look at the data there from Gmail, this is from last year, where are their trends going? Desktop-based access to Gmail going down, and web access going way up dramatically. It's quite a strong picture that's being painted there. So, and this is something local for an Irish utility, just seeing the growth there. This isn't just in the big brands. 2,000% increase in your mobile traffic. And of course, all of you know you can get this very easily, get this data and find out what it is for your own site. What it actually hit home for me most, I can't remember, this is the end of last year, or the start of this year, we were doing a user test. It wasn't a mobile user test. That wasn't the focus of what we were doing. And we had the guy in there, and it was kind of like our own Joe the Plumber moment, if you remember back to the Obama campaign. And this guy who was not at all tech savvy, and we kind of had it in our test protocol, we want to see how he uses mobile. So if you ever tried to access this site on your mobile, you can kind of almost apologize to ask it, of course you have. And he says, well, yeah, I did. He said, I was sitting on my couch, my computer was down the hall, I didn't want to get up the couch, it was a pain in the ass, it was down there, it was in the hallway. I took out my phone just to see if it could work. And it was just one of those moments when it kind of hit you. Holy shit, this is not just me and my friends and techie nerds and the young people and these kind of segments we all think about the mobile savvy. This is other people as well. This is my parents who visited me last week and just came over with 2 brand new iPhone 4S's. They're ahead of me already. It's very good. What this means is context of mobile. Everyone thinks mobile, and even if you go back a year or two ago, what is mobile? You've got to think about where people are mobile, what they're going to be doing, what's useful for them there. You know, they're commuting, they're on the Lewis, that's when they might be going to your site. No more, it's not that easy. That last quote, or actually I skipped over the number there, this is a survey from last year that found about 47% of people are using their smartphones on their commute, compared to 84% using it at home. The mobile phone is not just a mobile context. And this is all part of the peak desktop phenomenon that we're seeing. So this kind of way ups the ante for where we all need to be thinking about mobile. But the problem is, if we go back to where frequently there's executive pressure, maybe some of you are actually trying to put the pressure on yourselves, saying we need to be thinking about this. Sometimes it comes down on top and they're saying, you know, I want to go home and have this on my phone. And what they don't understand is device fragmentation, which is this scary world of 4 million different devices. If you just look at Android fragmentation, it is crazy. The different device types, the quality of the device, the screen sizes, and so it's a scary world in mobile right now. And what this translates to is that this is actually just taking, you can look at a lot of the numbers of what people buy. An important difference to be aware of is, so obviously loads more people don't have smartphones now than do, but it's the people with smartphones who are actually going online on their phone. If you talk to people and they have one of the old crappy Nokias and say, do you try to go online? Well, no, that's why I bought this phone. It doesn't go online. I don't want it to do it. So you have to pay attention to the people who are actually going online, and which is where you see iPhone disproportionately go up. But depending on the country, depending on what you're looking for, those numbers actually vary quite a bit. BlackBerry is much higher here in the UK than in the US. Android is much higher in the US. But again, what this comes back to means you've got to start thinking, if you go native, about supporting different platforms. And supporting different platforms is a major, major ordeal and an undertaking. So if you look at Evernote, do people know Evernote? Is that pretty widespread? A lot of you probably use Evernote. It's a pretty great product. It's hard to believe it's free. I don't think I've ever come anywhere close to having to pay for it yet. But they said, the CEO said, we could probably save 70% of our development budget if we went for a single cross-platform client. And he said this in the context of defending that he thought this was the right decision, because he thought the quality of the user experience justified it. But 70% for a cross-platform. And this from Facebook, just at the end of September at their conference. Their engineering manager talks about, everyone, he was said, going back 2 years ago, everyone's using Facebook on their Android, iPhones, Windows, the web. He said, that was great from a user's perspective. What sucks? The environment for my developers. You have the bad old days. You're going back to have to build the sucker 4 times. This is the reality that you face if you're going down the native road. And so, so what is the difference between native and mobile? It actually gets stickier. What's the difference between a mobile website and an app? None of this stuff is really that black and white. But at the bottom line, native means it's running under different languages. So it's Objective-C for Apple, Java if you're Android, C++ if you're Windows, Symbian is of course legacy now, or HTML5 it's web, which is all the technologies we all know. So, and what this translates to is very possibly different people. So when you go native, if you want to actually go across platforms, you're probably talking about different developers with different skills able to support this stuff. So what does this mean? What this means is if you're going native, you're going to have to spend a lot more time on this kind of horizontal axis where you're just maintaining the product. You have to, every bug defect is unique to each platform. The resolution of one has nothing to do with the resolution of another. You're doubling, tripling, almost literally the investment there to try to get these native products that are in the App Store. In contrast, if you're going web, you can spend more of your time actually improving the product, actually innovating it, making it better, doing the constant iteration that we all want to be doing, instead of just trying to maintain the status quo. But what's the actual difference to customers? They don't really know the difference between mobile, web, and native. They certainly don't give a toss about the technology. What's different to them is, can I go into the marketplace? Can I go to iTunes? When I type your company, your organization, do I get a result? That's difference number one. And when I launch it, do I launch it from here, or do I have to go into Safari to launch it? That, to most people, is the difference between these things, which is not meaningless, unfortunately, because that's the world smartphone users are accustomed to now. And this makes it more complicated, because people kind of expect apps to be coming through the app stores. So if we look at native, by default we generally think, well, native app is clearly going to be better. And in some respects this is definitely true. So boring little table here, but bear with me. So a native app means you're going to be able to use all the fancy hardware, the gyroscope, the accelerometer, all the big fancy words that we pretend we fully understand. You can access your file systems, you know, your address book and your photos, so you can actually use those things, do things, the fully immersive experience. Anything gaming clearly should be native. Support in-app purchases, which probably for most people in this room doesn't matter, but for some people it's huge because there's already a credit card there. Can use your camera. And also critically, it's smoother and a better UI. The experience of a native app is almost always going to be better if it's done properly than a web app. Maybe marginally better, maybe a little bit better, but that's the reality of how it's working. But both of them can store data offline, both of them can access the GPS, and even your web app can have pretty nifty transitions if you wanted to. It can kind of feel like a native app. And actually on Apple you can access it from the home screen. You all probably notice you can save to home screen. You can actually tell Apple to put a wrapper around it. It can actually put your web app, so when you do multitasking it appears in the bottom. It can actually feel like a full native app just by saying save to your home screen. And in addition, the web app has a few other things that really matter. It's much easier to build, to prototype, and to test, to roll out. You can test the rollout. All this stuff is the way we know how to do it on the web instead of going through the pain of App Store. It can update it immediately. All the stuff we're used to on websites means your web app has all these advantages. You can test, you can do A/B tests. You can't do that if you're working on native. And this is a critical one. You can link to a web app. If you're a company and you're sending out a bill notification, you send out an SMS. If it's a native app where they need to go build that, you can't link to that native app. You can literally link to the app in the App Store. That's no good to them. Or if it's a web app, you can send a link to the page where they go sign in and view their bill. That's the experience we want to move to. So there's some distinct advantages to web apps, as well as just the developmental efficiency that's going on there. And HTML5 is continually improving in what hardware capabilities it can access. And there's one other critical one, Luke Grabowski, I don't know if any of you know him, he's one of the big thinkers in mobile, and he kind of sent out a tweet and said, you know, are there any UX benefits to mobile web apps? I thought this was a great response from someone, I have no idea who this person is, but said, the big experience is having an experience at all. Because ultimately, native apps, unless you're an incredibly rich company, which probably almost for certain none of us are, because you have to be a mega monolithic to support this stuff, means it's a policy of exclusion. You're excluding some of your users if you're going native. And I think that's a great point, that it's having the experiences where the UX benefit comes. Another thing that I think we get lost in this, particularly when board level people are coming in and the noise about apps, is we forget that a lot of the apps that are making the noise out there, these aren't apps with websites like most of us have websites. Instagram is an app. There's a website that supports the app. Of course that should be native. It has to be native. It's about photos. That's a completely different model to almost everyone in this room, where the website is your focus initially, and apps are complementary. And as we're seeing down, you know, as this grows, maybe it's going to be 50-50 where it goes. But it's completely different than all the noise you're hearing about all those apps. So we can ignore that noise, because that's a totally different business that doesn't relate to what most of us are doing. So it's more organizations like this where, and what the guys were talking about earlier, where you're trying to extend, this is about extending your desktop website, because we have to be doing this now. And there's another thing, which is hybrid web apps, and this kind of complicates the picture in a useful way. Because basically, if you look at this app on the left and say, oh, that definitely looks like a native app, or even the Obama campaign way back when they were using this. This is all written in HTML5. So you can actually, in the quality of the app, in HTML5, make it even feel like a native app, which may not necessarily be a good idea, but the capabilities are there. And more importantly, what it means is use PhoneGap. Have many of you heard of PhoneGap? Which you can write in HTML5 and then actually port out to your various apps. But so if you look at who's actually going with HTML5 and kind of avoiding down the native route, Basecamp, 37 signals, probably a lot of you, maybe all of you know about them. People you can trust put a lot of thought into the direction they're taking. We talked earlier about Facebook. They rewrote all of their stuff so they could just write once. So if any of you noticed, before Facebook launched all this new stuff, you may have noticed when, if you have the app on your phone, you said, geez, that news feed looks different than it used to, but I didn't download an update. And that's because that news feed was built in HTML5. They're able to push an update to you without you actually having to go to the App Store and download an update. And another one is Netflix. It says, look, we're using HTML5 across all of our platforms here. So from a developer efficiency point of view, it's kind of a no-brainer. And this is also the approach we took when we built for Vodafone. Although it was kind of designed as a native app, it was built in HTML5, use PhoneGap, export it, and you get to Android and iPhone very quickly, as well as on the web. But we actually just had last week, someone came in and talked to us and said, we've been rejected by the App Store. We went this approach, this hybrid approach, develop an HTML5, export to the others, and Apple rejected them because they said, this is just a website bundled as a web app, 2.12, rejected. And without going into the technical realities of this, I don't want to just pretend this is a simple thing, you do your app normally and then boom, boom, you're in all the app stores, happy days. So there is some back-end complexity here that has to be thought through. But I think the bravest move is, this is Luke W. Who, by the way, you all, if anyone's thinking about mobile, you should buy this book. It came out 3-4 weeks ago. It's probably $20, you know. And he's one of the most progressive thinkers in mobile. And his big thing is he's trying to say mobile first, which is we all should be thinking, designing mobile websites first, embracing the constraints, cutting all the clutter and the crap that we all put on our desktops, and then build up from there to our desktop. It's a radical perspective on things, probably a hard one for most of us to do, but lots of other practice stuff. You should definitely buy this book. But if you look at the website he did, which was actually just bought by Twitter, he used to work for Yahoo, and then they went to this bag check. So Web First, they designed their website, their mobile website, then they designed their desktop website, and if you go into iTunes, there's nothing. They said the bravest move is saying, no, we're not going into the app world at all. Which can frequently be, I don't know the discussions you've had, but in a lot of the companies we work with, that's a big ask on marketing. They want their big campaign to be available on iPhone and Android. They don't care about the web. They just want to say iPhone and Android. That's what I say, iPhone and Android. I want to be able to say iPhone and Android. But this is the bravest route to say, is saying, look, the future is in the standard technologies that we've already been working on. So I think that's the bravest route, but it's still kind of hard to do today because people are still expecting apps to be in the App Store. The other caveat I make is this stuff is changing so incredibly fast in the mobile world. So Josh Clark wrote this book, Designing Great iPhone Apps, back in 2010, and kind of made a small point about websites, and this stuff also applies to mobile websites. And then just a year later at a conference, after writing a whole book about iPhone apps, he's saying, well, platforms are risky places to put your business. If you can do it with the web, do it with the web. It's faster, cheaper, and easier. So just a year later, a very influential guy has changed his thinking quite a bit on this approach. It's a scary world to be working in mobile because of this kind of constant device change, platform change. Nokia is basically going Windows. I mean, this is crazy, the change that's going on in the industry, but that's the reality that's happening. So basically, the takeaway that I'm trying to persuade people to do is you should start this whole approach, if you're getting this pressure of iPhone app, Android app, the starting point should be no. We should start by saying no to native until we can actually justify that either we need native for the functionality, or we're willing to accept the development hit for native, or we have really strong reasons to do this, not just because the guy at the top wants to show his kid the app that his company made. So stand up to your CEO.